So when you first start getting into astrology, you will probably start by looking at placements, right? You'll look at planets in signs and then the house that they're in as well. But then the next logical step when you start analyzing charts is to try to understand the nature of the relationship between these different placements. And the way in astrology that we quantify and the way that we analyze those relationships is via a system of aspects. So this video in particular is looking at the quincunx aspect. So let's do it. So I want to start by saying that the quincunx is it's on the fence between if it's a major aspect or a minor one. A lot of people wouldn't count it. They'd say that your major aspects are the conjunction, the sextile, the square, the trine, and the opposition, which is only 5. I'm going to include the quincunx. Why not? Quincunx will be part of the club in my book for sure. So what is a quincunx? Quincunx, it's actually quite fun to say as well. It's the real reason I made the video. Quincunx is an aspect that is formed when two planets are 150 degrees apart. That is to say that there are 5 signs around the zodiac from each other. Now, the thing is that 150 degrees, it's very rare you're going to have an exact quincunx. So in astrology, when looking at aspects, we tend to give what are called an orb or orbs of a few degrees on either side. I'm going to say 5 roughly. Some people give more, some people give less in different situations. It might be different, but I'm just going to say 5 just to give you a number. So 5 signs apart, hey. Now, the thing about this is that 5 signs apart, they're not going to have anything in common, those 2 signs. If you look at an opposition, for example, there'll be the same polarity. For example, an earth sign and a water sign, they're going to both be feminine signs. If you look at a trine, they're going to be in the same element. For example, Cancer and Pisces, they're both going to be water signs. A square even, it's not going to be the same element or whatever, but it is going to be the same modality. Quincunx has got literally nothing in common. They're just not on the same page whatsoever, these 2 signs that are forming a quincunx. And the thing is with 2 planets that form a quincunx is they don't confront each other like in an opposition. They don't get in each other's way like in a square. It's more like they're kind of ships in the night. And maybe so let's push this analogy a little bit further. The ships who use 2 different systems and they're aware of each other, but they don't speak, they don't share a language, they can't communicate, but they just kind of pass by, that kind of thing. So a quincunx can represent, it's kind of like a challenge, right? But it's not really a challenge, it's more like a kind of minor irritation, It's certainly not a major conflict. It's just one of those things that just can be kind of annoying. Something you're aware of, but it's not a huge deal. That's the vibe of a quincunx. Because of this relationship, the 2 planets involved, you can have a sense of lack of rhythm about what it is that placement represents in your chart and in your psyche. A lack of rhythm, a kind of awkwardness, kind of disorganization kind of thing that kind of come from the quincunx. It's kind of more like friction than it is like conflict, really. But the thing is, the aspect itself, a bit like with a square, like I said, it's like they get in each other's way, but it's like something for you to overcome. It like gives you something to work towards to deal with. Quincunx is just like, it's too passive really to deal with it, so it just kind of stays there or something that's kind of annoying a lot of the time. So what I said about the 2 signs involved in a quincunx aspect, because they've got very little in common, the thing is though, that can actually be a strength in the sense that the quincunx, it can kind of like temper the expression of each of these 2 planets that are involved in this aspect and kind of dampen the more extreme expressions of the natal sign that it's in the placement. The opposition also kind of does this, because the opposition, it can kind of like balance out and kind of take away the sharper edges from whatever it is. But the thing with the quincunx, it's even less extreme. So it's like you take the edge off, but you do it in like a way that already has the edge taken off in a way, because the opposition can actually be quite destructive if you don't like work out a right balance, whereas quincunx is just kind of, it's less of a big deal. So here's my chart, right? So the blue ones are the harmonious aspects. We've got a trine and a sextile. The red ones, we've got an opposition here, and then we've got a square. The green dotted lines are the quincunx, right? So you should be able to find that really easily just by looking at your chart. Incidentally, this the symbol is this one here. Kind of looks like a judo belt. That's what I always think of. It's like a straight line. You see that? It's like I'll put an image on the screen, like a straight horizontal line with kind of 2 ones coming off it. So I've got 2 of them here. So the one I'm going to point in particular is from Jupiter here at 6 degrees in Cancer, and at 5 degrees in Aquarius I've got Venus. So Venus is representative of like relationship and social interaction, and Jupiter, in this context, I'm just going to say magnifies whatever it touches, right? So in my case, like the enjoyment that I can get from socializing, it really goes hot and cold, right? I'm both. I'm extroverted and introverted, right? These two sides of me are always at loggerheads. You know, sometimes I'm in my element, you know, and then someone will be like, oh, we're doing a thing tomorrow, do you want to come? And I'll be like, no, that kind of thing. But because I'm both, and it can be quite confusing, kind of hot and cold. I've also got a history of getting really carried away with like having fun and socializing stuff and taking jokes like way too far, and then hating myself for it, or people, you know, hating me for it. I don't know. I also tend to go to extremes in relationship as well, like romantic relationship. I'll get like really like sucked in right away, and I'll be all too happy just to like dive right in and just like be consumed by the whole thing. But then after a little while, I'll panic, and then I'll want to like pump the brakes a little bit, and then. But the thing is, I don't want to pump the brakes because I don't want to confuse this person who's basically known me to be like Mr. Fantastic for like a few months, and then suddenly I'm like a different person. It's like a whole thing that's kind of within myself that I'm aware of for sure. But it's because it's a quincunx kind of thing. It's not something that is like right there. So it's something that I am myself motivated to work on, but. It's not, the motivation hasn't come from the quincunx, is what I'm saying. You might find that the two placements that are involved in a quincunx, you might find that the quincunx itself might kind of drain energy from them a little bit. Like they might not have the same kind of oomph that they might have had without this aspect. And the way that energy gets kind of drained can be kind of haphazard and non-productive. Like it's not like a square in opposition where, or even a conjunction, let's say, with Mars and Saturn, where the limitations of Saturn being put on Mars will kind of give Mars like something to push against, and then it kind of gets stronger by doing that, like lifting weights, that kind of thing. In this case, it's just kind of, it's like there's a leak in the tank. Final thought is that it's just about the same thing. There's going to be some essential modifications that if you want to overcome your quincunx difficulties, some kind of essential modifications for you to make on yourself to improve your capacity to function, really, to get rid of this kind of drag factor, whatever it is. Think about it like two friends, you know, because a chart, you can kind of look at it as like a kind of party, like a group of friends or whatever. And, you know, if there's a challenging aspect, it's like they kind of don't really get on, you know, and everyone kind of knows it, so they keep them apart, and that's why they're like opposition or whatever. In the case of a quincunx, it's like maybe you got two friends who kind of don't really get on, they don't really like each other, but it never really like boils over into like a huge thing. It's just like kind of awkward, that kind of thing. But like the mutual friends that they have like in common, they can like help bridge the gap and kind of bridge the gap and kind of bring mutual understanding between them. And you know, think about that as being kind of like a correctional aspect. It's like the way to do it is just kind of correct. It's not a huge life-changing thing, but just like something to tweak within yourself. It's a therapeutic opportunity. Alright, that's it. Those are my thoughts today on the quincunx aspect in astrology. So if you enjoyed this video, please let me know. Let me know if you found it interesting, useful and entertaining. My Leo rising would love to hear that someone was entertained. So you can let my Leo rising know that you were entertained by hitting the like button and the subscribe button below, so that YouTube will let you know next time I put one of these lovely videos up for you to be entertained by. So that's all. I hope to see you next time. Cheers.